It's hard to imagine that any team that is 14th out of 15 teams in the West with a 5-17 record can find any semblance of success in a season. But there is a way for the Sacramento Kings. It's all about the young guys and the trade deadline a little bit too. On this episode of the Locked On Kings podcast, the Royal Report, Jason joins me to talk about the young guys, Maxime Raynaud, Keegan Murray, Nique Clifford, and how the next generation of Sacramento Kings basketball can begin today. You're listening to Locked On Kings.
You are Locked On Kings, your daily Sacramento Kings podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is that time for another episode of Locked On Kings.
Hello and welcome into Locked On Kings, your podcast hub for Sacramento Kings coverage all season long. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. My name is Matt George. I have the privilege of being your host here. I'm a Sacramento sports anchor and reporter for ABC 10 News, and I'm excited. I got a first time on this podcast today. The first time that I've gotten to collab with Jason from the Royal Report. If you haven't seen his work, he's another solo podcast host like myself that does a great show breaking down Sacramento Kings basketball. Just another really, really good program to hopefully get you through this struggle of a season, get you that Kings talk that I know you crave. I was made aware of Jason earlier this season and thought, you know what? I'm gonna listen to my comment section. I'm gonna bring him on the show. Let's talk. Let's chat. I had such a great time talking Kings basketball with him. It's definitely going to be something that we do on a regular, but I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. Here is the combo: Locked On Kings and Royal Report coming together for a nice little Kings conversation. For the last few months, I've been getting nothing but comments. You got to collab with Royal Report. You got to collab with the Royal Report. Jason's great, Matt. You got to have him on the show. And so I went, checked it out, listened to some of Jason's work. Like, oh my God, this guy's great. Okay, I'm doing it. I'm bringing him here on Locked On Kings. And Jason, nice enough to respond right away. Come over to Locked On Kings. And now I have a feeling this might be something that we do on a regular basis. Jason from the Royal Report. You can check out his show if you're not already on his YouTube channel. Does incredible content after games, just consistent Sacramento Kings talk. Helping us get through this god-awful season that we're going through, Jason. But one of the things we're going to talk about is how can the Sacramento Kings still find some semblance of success with this year? We'll get into that, plus Maxime Raynaud, Keegan Murray, and all that in just a little bit, my friend. But how have you been getting through this season so far, my man? What is, when you're watching Kings basketball, because when we're breaking down these Kings, right, we can't just turn the TV off and discuss like so many people want to. What is getting you through these games throughout this god-awful start?
I mean, it's got to be the little things, like just enjoying the little things. And some of that is watching the veterans play some good basketball, or at least some fun basketball. But the main thing is the young players. I mean, the veterans at times can be a little depressing, and that's unfortunate because there are some great players who have had some great careers. But it's about the little things, the little growth that we're seeing from veterans. And so I think this season, when it comes to what I'm looking for, there are kind of three separate categories. It's like the individual performances, then how the team is playing like as a team, and the whole identity talk I know was a little cheesy in the offseason, but there's some truth to it, trying to get towards a certain identity. And then there's the team building perspective, which will come more towards the trade deadline. But right now, it's about the young guys and trying to watch mainly the rookies, but now that Keegan's back, Keegan as well, and watching the little growth that we're seeing from them.
We'll dive into that in just a second because we finally got a taste of like more minutes for the young guys in that Houston game. And even though they got blown out, I was actually pretty excited about it, Jason. But before we get to that, I want to go back to even the beginning of the season, because there'll be a lot of people that claim, I didn't expect the Sacramento Kings team to be any good. but I don't think anybody could say that they were going to be this bad. Like what were your expectations for this team going into the season, whether it's record wise or whatever? And then how soon did you know, oh God, they're not going to come anywhere close to that?
My expectations, I forget what I exactly said in the preseason, but I definitely was somewhere between, I think, the 12th and the 14th seed in the Western Conference. So I was not someone who even thought we would make the play-in. I mean, I thought there was a chance. So I definitely didn't think they would be quite this bad. I don't even know. I lost track. 5-17.
5-17, I think.
Yeah. It's definitely a next level of poor play than I expected, where, I mean, the defense is bad. And I expected that. This team was not going to be a good defensive team, no matter what, especially when Keegan Murray went down in the preseason. Like, that makes sense. The offense being just as horrid as it has been and as hard to watch as it has been, that's been the really disappointing part. And so when did I know that this team was really bad? I mean, it did not take long. It was a few games into the season, if I'm being honest, just because the team was so depressing to watch, and there felt like there was no life. And that was all with Zach LaVine actually having a very good start to the season. And even Domantas Sabonis, he had his little injury and he came back. But it was like some guys at an individual level playing pretty well, but it just not coming together at all.
So Jason was more on top of this team, or had a better finger on the pulse of this team than I did, because I thought like this team was destined to like compete for a meaningless play-in spot. So you had them at like that 12 to 14 range. You might have absolutely. What's crazy about this is they're what, 5-17, and there are like 4 teams in the league that are worse than them. Like I would never expect the Kings to be on like a 20-win pace, and they're going to struggle to have the bottom 3, aka top 3 odds at the number 1 overall pick. But here we are. But Jason, we saw in Houston, Doug Christie finally not just giving minutes to Maxime Raynaud, who's been playing really well over the last 3 games, but pulling Zach LaVine's minutes down to 19. DeMar DeRozan, I think, played 23. And then you have Keegan playing the 37. You have Nique that played like 23 to 25. You had Keon, who didn't do anything but played 20 minutes. Like that first step towards what a lot of people have been asking for, which is you don't have to completely bench the veterans and the starters, but pull their minutes back and start spreading them among the young guys. At least make these losses and make this court time going forward mean something or productive in some sort of way towards whatever semblance of a future that you had. So even with the final score the way it was and the way that second half went, how happy were you to see, hey, Nique's out there, he's struggling, but he's out there. Keon's out there, he struggles, but he's out there. Like we finally got to see some of those lineups that we're curious about.
Yeah, even with Keon Ellis putting up a Tony Snell stat line, it's still nice to see him out there, because it's not like I expect all of these guys to be all-star level players or develop into all-star level players or even be positive basketball players right away, because I definitely don't expect that. But it's just about them being on the court and having the opportunity to grow. And so I think one of the things going forward for the Kings that they need to do is remove obstacles for the young players. And that is the veterans having all of these minutes. And from what we're seeing so far this season, not playing the correct way. That's not something you want in front of your young players. You don't want them picking up those bad habits and just kind of being in a depressing, kind of toxic situation, because that's kind of what it feels like it is. And so I was ecstatic to see the young players. And like you said, it doesn't mean that you can't play the veterans at all. And even going forward, it doesn't mean that you have to trade all your veterans this season. It just means that you have to give your young guys opportunities alongside of those veterans. I mean, I think one of the things we're seeing with Maxime Raynaud, kind of, I don't know, continuing to grow throughout the season, but now he's really flourishing. Yeah. And he's set a career high in Houston, and just a couple of games prior, he had set a previous career high. And I think he's being helped by some of the veterans, especially Russell Westbrook. One of the stats that I saw in the past couple of days was the amount of field goal attempts that Max was taking and who they were assisted by. Russell Westbrook assisted on 31 of Raynaud's shot attempts. The next most is Nique Clifford at 10. So Russell Westbrook is the guy setting Max up. And so you have to have kind of a mix here. And that's why I was happy that the Kings did get a veteran point guard in the offseason. Maybe you didn't need two, but I'm happy to see this mix of veteran and young players and more even minutes distribution, because you're seeing these guys grow. And no, it isn't pretty. No, Nique didn't play well. Keon didn't really do much, but Max did. And Keegan didn't play all that well on the offensive end, but you saw him doing things on the defensive end like he always does. So you're seeing these positive things. And I think as you continue to give guys consistent minutes, you're not going to see them, especially as rookies, have constant good performances, but you'll see the flashes, and that's really what I want to see.
This episode of the Locked On Kings podcast is brought to you by DoorDash. The season is heating up, and DoorDash has a way to keep fans in their bag all season long. Whether you're watching the highlights, the tunnel fits, or just your favorite player, DoorDash makes the entire season more fun because every player has their bag. With DoorDash, fans have one too. DoorDash keeps your snacks stocked, your gear fresh, and your watch party vibes absolutely on point. There are nights when your team stresses you out. For Kings fans, that's almost every night. Let DoorDash become your post-game therapy. Sometimes you just need a dessert right then and there. Those late night interviews hit and suddenly you need chips at midnight. DoorDash is built exactly for that. If the group chat says pull up, DoorDash makes sure that you show up prepared. Snacks, cups, even a phone charger for the friend who's always at 2% battery life. From tip-off to overtime, stay in your bag and order on DoorDash. Get snacks, drinks, gear, whatever gets you through the season delivered right to your door. DoorDash, in your bag all season long. You brought up a great point with Russ, and I've kind of noticed over these last handful of games too, Jason, DeMar DeRozan has been getting more time with some of those second unit groups and with some of those younger players. And I felt he's looked the most comfortable that he's looked the entire season. Now, DeMar is someone that I fully expect to be gone at the trade deadline. Like, it just makes perfect sense for the Kings to move on from him, do right by him. He and Malik Monk are at the top of my list of those are the guys that are going to be on the move, realistically. I know the Kings will probably try and trade one of Sabonis or Levine, if not both of them. But realistically, with those contracts, who knows if they're going to be able to find anything. So, but until the time that you can move DeMar, just because he's part of this veteran group that's really, really struggling and is really, really bad, doesn't mean that he's not valuable to some of these young guys, especially like a Nique Clifford specifically. So it's really just like Russ has jumped out to you with how he's been working with Maxime and trying to set Maxime up. I really think DeMar DeRozan with that second unit, giving that second unit and those young guys a steady scoring presence that they can always lean on and rely upon in more of that isolation mid-range scoring, which DeMar has made a career out of. But it's not like he's demanding the ball the entire time and Nique's just standing in the corner like some of these other guys are when they play with that primary veteran lineup. So it's good to see that Doug, at least over the last handful of games, is starting to find ways to work the young guys in with veterans who are complementing them, not directly contrasting them like it felt at the start of the season.
Yeah, definitely. And I think having a guy like DeMar DeRozan, even though, sometimes he can be kind of the isolation type of player. I mean, he does that a lot. Mm-hmm. And that can be thought of as not great in a team environment sometimes. But I think when it comes to playing with a lot of these young players, sometimes that's what you need. Because if you throw all of these young players out there, especially against a defense like Houston with all their length and size, they can get overwhelmed.
Yes.
And that can be okay for development. Like sometimes you got to be thrown into the fire to learn, but also to kind of grow in other ways, grow your game in other ways. You have to have one of those veteran players out there who's going to have the ball. And so all the young players can learn how to play off the ball and how to move when there is a ball dominant player, because the reality of the NBA, especially with some of these young guys, maybe projecting as role players, is you're going to have to learn how to play alongside a guy like DeMar DeRozan. Mm-hmm. Even if when eventually you are in a winning situation, it isn't going to be DeMar specifically, that is your guy, but it's going to be someone who can play some isolation basketball like him. And so I think that is a valuable learning experience for the young guys.
Is there any, until Domantas Sabonis gets back, which 2-3 weeks it sounds like is when he's going to be reevaluated, is there any reason not to start Maxime Raynaud and to continue to start Drew Eubanks?
No. I've been saying this for the last couple of games. What are we doing here? Why is Drew Eubanks starting? And I think last game, it was like 2 minutes into the first quarter, Max is coming into the game.
He played 10 minutes total. Yeah.
It's a complete sham. Like, it's as if we're like, we have to start Drew just because he is the veteran and Max is the rookie, so he has to come off the bench. And it's not that big of a deal. Like, if Max is getting the minutes, he's getting the minutes. But why? It just seems like it's completely pointless to me. And Max has shown that he's playing more positive minutes than Drew Eubanks is. And so at that point, it doesn't matter if he's a rookie. You got to put him in that starting lineup and show him that you are confident in him and that you like what he's been doing so far. Give him that, vote of confidence.
Yeah, I completely agree. There's no reason why Max shouldn't start. Like, throw him into the fire. He is going to struggle. Like, if he starts, let's say, against Miami, and he goes up against Bam Adebayo, like, Bam's going to get the better of him a number of times. That's what Bam's supposed to do. He's a veteran against a rookie and a second-round pick rookie in that. And there are obvious holes to Maxime's game that he needs to address. He needs to get stronger. A lot of this stuff he's really not going to be able to do until the offseason. But we can see how far the IQ has brought him from where he started to where he is right now. And, I mean, he needs to one thing I think he could do better right now is he needs to rebound with more of a purpose, like really attack a rebound. Don't just put your arm up there because you're 7'1" and hope the ball lands in your palm. Like, attack it, go up with two hands, try and be physical, get an over the back foul call. I don't care. Like, go, just be a little more aggressive rebounding the basketball. More aggression is what Max needs to his game, period. But Jason, something that stood out to me is over these last 3 games where Max is doing better, he's starting to shoot the ball a little bit more. Like, that was his skill at Stanford. He was a floor spacing center in Stanford. He's 3 of 5 from 3-point range over the last 3 games. That volume still needs to go up. The thought behind that is, well, hey, when Domantas Sabonis comes back, naturally he's going to go back into the starting lineup. Naturally, he's going to get minutes again. Now, I'm one to believe that no veteran should be playing more than 32 minutes a night unless they're having such an amazing game like you can't take them off the floor. But that should be, to me, the cutoff so that there's minutes for the young guys as well. Is there any reason to strongly consider Domas starts at the 4, keep Max at the 5 so he can truly space the floor in that role, move Keegan to the 3, which a lot of people have said they want to see Keegan at the 3, and then go from there, right? Like, maybe we have to see how Max plays over the next couple weeks, but that seems a lot more realistic now than it ever felt as an off-season conversation after Max was drafted.
I don't think you do it right away, right? When Domas comes back. I don't think you just throw Max in there with Domas, because I think there are obvious flaws to that as well, just with the perimeter defense and the mobility of those guys. So I think there are flaws to that. But I think you can absolutely throw them out there together at certain points of the game and see how it goes. I don't think you just throw them into the starting lineup. What I've liked from Max, though, is, like you said, now he's starting to shoot a little bit more. And I think it was against Memphis where it was the fourth quarter. He had 3 moments where he was just wide open from 3 and he only shot 1 of them.
Yeah.
And to me, like, that can't happen because he's being guarded by Zach Edey, and Zach Edey's just chilling in the paint, and that's going to hurt your offense. He needs to be able to shoot that because that's part of his game. I do like that he started the season out not just chucking up a whole bunch of 3s and making that the only thing he does on offense. He's been a good screener. He's been doing kind of the little things you need to do as a center, which is set those screens, roll to the rim, be good at finishing around the rim, find yourselves in the right pockets. But now that he's getting more comfortable, I do want to see him start shooting more. And you saw the way Şengün in the last game, there was a point where he turned his back on Max at the 3-point line, and Max shot the ball and swished it. That's what we want to see from him. Just be that floor spacer on offense at times. That doesn't need to be his entire game, but it's a good aspect to have. And so for him to play alongside Domas, both of them being, I think, good passers, Max has shown his skills on the ball. That would be a fun thing to try out. I do question whether it would hold up on the defensive end, but Domas would definitely cover up some of Max's flaws as a rebounder right now, which is nice. And it's definitely fun to have bigger lineups when we've been playing with all of these tiny lineups.
This episode of the Locked On Kings podcast is also brought to you by FanDuel. NFL Sundays move fast. One big play and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift. A receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment. Live spreads and money lines adjust instantly. Player props update as guys heat up or cool down. You can bet next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. You touched on something there that it's kind of the theme for how I feel about these young guys, period, over the remainder of this season. I'll even throw Keegan into this category. Like, let it fly. Like, play without fear. And I felt like Nique over the last couple of weeks, Nique Clifford has been more, you can tell he's trying to make the right play, because when he's out there, it's typically been as part of the main rotation with some of the main guys, and he's trying to be in the right spots and space the floor correctly. And I'm okay with him going 0 for 3 from 3-point range in Houston. Now, I won't say that same thing if he's continuing to go 0 for 3 from 3 and it's a month or two from now that he's getting consistent playing time. Like, at some point, those got to start dropping if you're going to be an NBA player. But like, let those shots fly. I've loved that since Keegan has come back, he's tried some things. Sometimes it hasn't worked. He turned the ball over a couple times in Houston, trying some things. Great. Like, what are you afraid to lose? You're losing anyway. Like, don't be afraid to take those shots. Don't be afraid to put the ball on the floor and attack it and do something. The one bucket that Nique scored in Houston, he put the ball on the floor, attacked the basket, finished with a strong layup at the rim. Like, love that. That's the one thing that I think is going to be the only demand that I have for these young guys, as hopefully they get more playing time going forward. Be fearless, experiment, try things. Now is the time for that. And you'll find out very quickly what works and what doesn't, especially when you're playing against lineups with Amen Thompson and Kevin Durant on the other side.
No doubt. You saw Keegan's struggles when he was putting the ball on the floor against Amen Thompson. The handle didn't look great, but that's fine. Try things. And I want to see Keegan get at least 15 shot attempts per game. The last two games, I think he's been at 11 and 12. So like slightly lower than what I wanted him to be. When he first came back, he was really getting them up. The last two games, I think he struggled a little bit more. But I definitely want to see him just continue to shoot, continue to be very involved in the offense. And like you said with Nique Clifford, going 0 for 3 from 3, like that's fine. Just shoot when you're open. Like, you cannot pass up these shots. Even when you're not completely open, like, you can get a couple up, that's fine, but be aggressive putting the ball on the ground. And for me, one of the plays that kind of stood out to me for Nique was when he first came into the game against Houston and the Rockets went to his zone defense and he caught the ball on the left wing and he just immediately let it fly. And then, it didn't go down. And then the next possession, or maybe a possession after that, he catches the ball on the perimeter and he pump fakes and he gets the defense to come out at him and then he drives. And so it's just him showing his willingness to shoot all of a sudden attracts the defense out and opens up other parts of his game, even though he didn't even hit the 3. And I think that's what we can see from Nique. That's what we can see more from Max. And Keegan has been letting it fly. So I absolutely agree. Like, we need to see these guys just getting more shot attempts. And I think as the season goes on, hopefully we will see more and more of the young guys being featured and getting more shot attempts, and especially Nique, who hasn't looked the most confident trying to find his own shot, him get more comfortable. I'm waiting for that one good game where Nique really just hits his first couple of threes maybe, and just it opens up his entire game and he scores 15 points or so.
The overall theme to this conversation is the path, really the only path to any sort of success for the Sacramento Kings this season is future-oriented, playing the young guys and watching them develop before our very eyes. We could even say to some extent, like the growth of Maxime Raynaud, not physically, but the growth of Max from the start of the season to where he's at now. He still has a long way to go, but that exponential growth is a success. Like we're seeing, it's a small success amongst a lot of failure, but it's a success. So the only way the Kings can really have a successful season this year is with the young guys developing, with Keegan Murray showing that opportunity or taking advantage of that opportunity to be a top guy. And then I can add into like how Scott Perry approaches the trade deadline. Like this trade deadline is going to be very fascinating for what the Kings are able to do, what they aren't able to do, and how the plan really starts to come together a little more around that trade deadline time. But going back to Keegan, Jason, like not to put any more weight on Keegan's shoulders because he's already carried a ton of responsibility with this organization and throughout his entire career here, starting as a rookie for a playoff team. But this is like these next few months, in my opinion, will define who Keegan Murray is as an NBA player. We already know, hey, you're going to be an established rotational 3-and-D type player. We'd love to see that three-point percent get back up to where it was his rookie season, of course. But defensively, he's really, really good. Rebounding, he's really, really good. Like we already know Keegan's an NBA player and he can have a very long, successful career. But this will define whether you are capable of being more than that or not. I already felt like this was his last season, even before he signed that $25 million per year contract. This is his last season to show that he could be a guy. Now he's going to get the most green of green lights, or he should get the most green of green lights he's ever had for the rest of the season. So it might feel like meaningless basketball in terms of wins and losses over the course of a losing season, but there's a lot for Keegan to truly play for and discover and do for himself, his image, and his career over the course of these final months of the season, which will also potentially define how Scott Perry approaches this offseason with how much he feels he needs to go out and get a number one guy, a number two guy. It just all depends on what Keegan shows us he's capable of as a really the only centerpiece that the Kings have left on this roster future-wise.
I mean, yeah, you're totally right about him being the only centerpiece. Everyone is expendable on this Kings team. And I'm even hesitant to say that Keegan is safe on this team. Like
I don't think he is. Like you're this bad, anybody is available, but it's going to take a King's ransom to get rid of Keegan.
No doubt. Like you have to get a lot back if you want to trade for Keegan. It is a very important season for him. I think in these first, I think he's played 7 games now. What we're seeing from him is not necessarily him expanding his game in terms of adding new moves to it or being able to, score at all 3 levels. Like we saw that before, but it's just his mindset. That's the thing that's completely looked completely different that we'd never seen from him before is him just wanting to have the ball in his hands. That's what I've been seeing. And so that's important for the rest of the season. And if he wants to be one of the top guys on a team, you got to have that mindset. Of course, you got to have a lot of other things as well, the skills to actually go along with that mindset. I'm not sure he's ever getting back to where he was as a rookie from the 3-point line. That may have been a little bit of a fluke now that we're seeing, but that's fine. Like as long as he's a respectable 3-point shooter, he's also showing that he can get it done in the mid-range, especially in transition. He can really score at the rim. I want to see the ball in his hands as much as possible to see what he really can be as an offensive player. Because I'm not sure. I'm not willing to put a ceiling on it. I have what I think he's going to be as an NBA player, and that's more as a 3rd, 4th, maybe even 5th guy on a very, very good team. But can he break into that second option? I don't think he will, but I'm not necessarily willing to put a ceiling on it yet. And so, like you said, this season will define what he can be because he's going to have that green light. And so there's no point to not see what he can be. This team is already so bad and probably wants to stay bad. So just put the ball in his hands, see what he can be. And hopefully from his point of view, he has that mindset of wanting to be one of the top guys on the team. And from what we've heard, I was actually kind of surprised with some of his interviews, him really saying like, I know it's going to be tough, but I want to be the guy. And I was like, okay, I'm down with this. So I'm really excited to see what Keegan's going to do the rest of the season.
Keegan's always in interviews since the moment he was drafted talk about how confident he is. Now we're really truly starting to see it. I think that's the encouraging part. And what we're also starting to see, Jason, remember how big of a deal it was after Keegan's first off season, how basically he and De'Aaron Fox hung out every day and did nothing but play one-on-one. And we saw the benefits of that defensively for Keegan. It's like he spent a whole summer trying to guard De'Aaron Fox, and you could see how that improved. Now we're starting to see some of that offensive bag that maybe he learned a thing or two from Fox, or he developed when trying to score on Fox. Like I see those little flashes, and I'm like, ooh, there's a little De'Aaron in there. There's a little bit of De'Aaron in what he did. So I'm excited we're seeing that from Keegan. Jason, we'll wrap up with this. Last year's lottery pick in Devin Carter can't get on the floor, period. Period. And I don't want to be cruel to say, just label him as a bust and that's it, because it's always been the wrong pick. It felt like the wrong pick from the very beginning for Monte McNair, and that's not Devin Carter's fault. That being said, I don't believe that he's not playing simply because of a grudge for Scott Perry of, I'm not playing him, he wasn't my pick. Devin Carter can't even get on the floor when they're down by 30. So obviously the Devin Carter era, if we even want to call it that here in Sacramento, is over. It's only a matter of time before they try and move him if they can get anything for him. But Scott Perry doesn't have to own this because it's not his pick. But the Sacramento Kings do have to own that the guy that they picked with their lottery pick last season is not even getting on the floor. They've made him meaningless in half a season, really, because he was hurt with that shoulder injury for the first half of last year. Just add it to the list of Kings draft blunders. What a strange story that Devin Carter's been here in Sacramento.
It sucks. In the preseason, I actually thought maybe there's a bit of a chance that he plays some minutes because of all of this talk about identity and getting after it defensively and picking up 94 feet. And that's the main thing Devin Carter does well. He picks up 94 feet. But I think you could just see it in the offseason when they picked up Shooter, then when they picked up Westbrook. Devin Carter was going to be the odd man out. I mean, even Keon Ellis was going to be the odd man out. And so if Keon can't even get time, Devin's definitely not going to get time.
Right.
And it sucks because to have a lottery pick that you don't see on the court ever. I mean, that it happens from time to time. And it sucks every single time, even when it happens to players on other teams, a lottery pick not even really getting a chance to show what he can do. Obviously, I have no idea what's going on in practice. I have no idea what he's showing, but he definitely has a lot of flaws that make me question how impactful of a player he can really be. And those flaws are probably the reason he's not getting on the court, because he doesn't really have a great handle, because he has such a slow release, because he is a smaller player despite being strong and having some long arms. That's great. But if you can't be a positive offensively, at his size, it's going to be tough to get on the court. That's what we're seeing. Maybe if there are no takers for him at the deadline and the Kings clear out some other players, maybe we could see a little bit of him at the end of the season, and maybe out of nowhere he becomes a positive player, at least in the rotation. But I mean, there's really nothing else to say other than it just sucks. The whole situation does.
Well, prepare for the sting to hurt a little bit more too, because the Kings are taking on the Heat next, and Davion Mitchell has been killing it in Miami, which he's such a Miami Heat culture player. He's just, it made so much sense when the Heat
everyone knew it. Yeah, everyone knew it.
As soon as he went to Miami, we're like, well, crap. That's not going to go well. Jason, my man, I appreciate you so much, brother. Congratulations on all the stuff that you've been able to do over there on the Royal Report. I want this to become a regular. If you'll be kind enough to come back on here, I'd love to join you on the Royal Report sometime whenever you need me. And Locked on Kings listeners, if you haven't checked out the Royal Report yet, add it to your rotation. I know all of you. I know you all listen to everybody anyway, right? I know you're listening to Deuce and Mo. You're listening to 1140 and 1320. Make sure the Royal Report is in that rotation with all the Kings content that you consume. Jason, I appreciate you, my friend. Let's do this again soon, and we'll get through this season together, my guy.
No doubt. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it, and we definitely got to do this again.